Hi there, I'm Don.
And hi, I'm Cindy. Welcome to Pearls of Liberty, this October 26th, 2013. And there's a really big rally going on today in Washington, D.C.
But you wouldn't know it from the mainstream news media. Seems like there's a blackout.
Actually, CBS had an article, I think, yesterday, but it's a little bit bigger news because evidently there are some fairly large celebrities involved in this.
That's good. Who's involved?
John Cusack, Oliver Stone, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and they had some congressmen involved, and so there's a little bit of weight behind this, but it affects so many people. In some ways, it's a little bit like the I can see why people in Hollywood would get involved because it's somewhat like McCarthyism. I mean, they're just going after people randomly.
Yeah, people being under surveillance so that they can be blackmailed. Which is the point. It's not about your security. It's not about trying to find terrorists. It's about gathering dirt so they can either extract money or blackmail you, which ends up being about money. So yeah.
And there are a lot of people, they were expecting thousands, and it looks like indeed they have a very large crowd there. And on the other side, there is a pushback against, I mean, the people who don't want internet freedom, internet privacy, are the people who stand to profit and who stand to lose money if file sharing is open and without consequences. And when John McAfee was introducing his device that will allow for internet freedom and privacy, he said that Sony and some of the other companies that sell a lot of music and video are the ones who are really fighting to not have internet privacy.
I think we should always remember that Sony is Standard Oil of New York, and I am not joking.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. So here, the Motion Picture Association of America reports notorious pirate sites to the U.S. government. And there's a list here that they reported. And if you read the article, you'll see that some of the information that the MPAA gave along with this list is not even accurate information. So they're really just shooting from the hip, and they don't want to see the free exchange of files.
Yeah, the key thing is that the American public, and this is starting to happen, needs to regain an understanding of what liberty is all about. And if you have a strong grip on principles of liberty, you're not going to let excuses. It's always excuses. We got to keep you safe from the bad guys who are doing this, this, and this. Well, you can take care of that on an individual basis as the laws are made, not with some blanket surveillance technique. And that's just an excuse for building a police state. And people are starting to see through that, and that's exciting.
And the motion picture industry, I'm guessing that, they have made such huge profits. They've made so much money. But not only have they made money because they have made money, they have been in a position to control and craft public opinion. And with more free file sharing, they will lose this, they could potentially lose this place at the top of the heap as far as crafting opinion.
Yeah, it's all about monopolies. It's all about protecting your monopoly and you then writing the laws so that you maintain your monopoly. And there is no challenges to it. But when those monopolization techniques begin to be stripped away, what happens? Free people get creative and produce their own movies, music, etc., start sharing it, and no, it's not a bad thing, that's a good thing.
Absolutely, and you can find as much entertainment for free on YouTube as you can virtually any place else. And one of the reasons for that is that some of the older black and white films that are no longer covered by copyright law appear on YouTube. And this is another website that it's just, you can spend hours here. Archive.org. And this website has, it's not one of the file sharing that is that the MPAA is after. This is legal and lawful for the most part, as far as I've been able to determine. But they have 1,415,919 movies. There's a lot of live music concerts here, a lot of audio recordings, and some texts. I'm guessing that those are books. So there really is a huge push to make available a lot of the information that really is I think a part of the brain trust of humanity.
Yeah, and you're focusing on the stuff that's fallen out of copyright, but what I'd like to emphasize is that people presume that copyright law is always a good thing and protects the creative individual, when actually, if you analyze it, that's usually not the case. Usually the creative individuals get a small pittance of the royalties and the money that is coming in that's based on the copyrights, and the legal system is a primary beneficiary of all of that money, and you're basically helping to support an industry that's very controlled when you're depending on copyright law. Whereas if you were just to allow creativity to take its natural course without that intervention, you actually, many musicians will find that they're more blessed by staying out of that game than if they play the game.
Sure, and George Michael is a prime example of somebody who was scooped up as a young, very talented musician, and was encouraged to sign contracts, and found that his creative wings had really been severely clipped. And the same with Prince. And when Prince wanted out of his record contract, the record company wanted to keep his name, Prince. So for quite some time, I think he has the name Prince back now, but for quite some time, his professional name was Tafcap, the artist formerly known as Prince, because the record company owned his trade name.
Yeah, such silly games. It's really, really silliness. All this corporate legal fiction stuff. We need to get back to being free humans, and the creative juices will begin to flow in humanity once again.
Absolutely. And there is another website, and there probably are others of which I'm not aware, but Gutenberg.org, free ebooks, Project Gutenberg. This is a great place to download books that are out of copyright. They offer over 42,000 free ebooks, and you can choose from free EPUB, free Kindle, and of course PDF format. And it's one of the great tragedies of the motion picture industry and some companies like Sony believing that they own these things, is that there are books like the Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Chronicles of Narnia that were about to come out of copyright, but some of these large corporations purchased them just as they were about to come out of, just the copyright was about to expire. So now they're locked up, and that has happened. Disney has a lot of the fairy tale, the traditional fairy tales that have been commonly told to children for hundreds of generations. I don't know, hundreds. For many generations, and they belong to Disney now.
Yeah, that's again the corporate legal fiction, and we need to get out of that game.
And a website that is constantly pushing in favor of electronic freedom is the Electronic Frontier Foundation. And they have great articles and great information. And they hire attorneys. They are actively working to preserve electronic freedom.
Yeah, they're in the forefront, absolutely. They're great people to follow on Twitter. They're always letting you know what they're up to, and it's always significant.
Yeah, they're very active in fighting against the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, because they see that as a threat to electronic freedom. So with that, we hope that you are having a great weekend. Maybe you're in Washington at the rally. If so, kudos to you. And we thank you for joining us for this week's Pearls of Liberty.
As always, we remind you to see the world the way that it really is, and then see yourself in it. Walk your walk. You are the one you've been waiting for.